Terry, it's always a pleasure to be with you. We've had some good visits.
We sure have.
Recently. And I want, if you would, just to tell me a little bit. We've had some conversations, and have. It's funny that I've just recently asked you some of these questions,
Mm-hmm.
but you've had a remarkably interesting, fun life.
I have.
And have lived in a lot of places. So I guess if you would just tell me a little bit about your growing up, where you were born.
I'm a St. Vincent's baby, Birmingham, Alabama. Mm-hmm.
So this is home from way back, all the way.
No, this is home.
This is home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's clarify that. I was sent away to school, finishing school. That's where I met Rich. And he was a West Point graduate. Mm-hmm. And the finishing school finished me. And I married him, and that was my life. The Air Force with him.
And Rich was West Point
cadet.
And then his made the military a career.
Before he went to West Point, he had said he was 17 when he wasn't quite, and joined World War II. And he really wanted to be in the Air Force. But he was a private when he joined. And as soon as World War II was over, he became a commissioned officer because he got an appointment to West Point. And he just fell right into that. Not the neatness that should have carried on, but he fell into it. And he was so proud of his country and his family. And so much in tune with God. And so much in tune with me. We had 62 years of a happy marriage.
62 years.
Yeah.
You've told me recently that, and you've lived in a lot of places and seen some exotic parts
Yes.
of the world. But if I remember, that Venezuela was probably one of your favorite places.
That was the glamour tour. Yeah. Everyone deserves a glamour tour.
Tell me about that.
Well, we lived in a beautiful home. The rent then was $1,000, and that was about 50 years ago. So it was glamorous.
Yeah.
Pink wine being marble staircases and 3 levels and beautiful yard and an avocado tree.
You had an avocado tree?
Yeah, we had guards all over.
Huh.
And the guards liked to practice. They'd hear my cats outside. They'd shoot them. Well, they weren't supposed to. These guys were just kids. But we'd come home and there'd be a dead cat. And they'd say they were so sorry, but what they liked to do was draw into the mirror. And
so they practiced on the cats?
Inside and out.
And that was a fairly dangerous
Very.
Place to be.
They knew that Rich had been in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And they knew he had flown in Korea. And they knew he had flown in, where else did he go? There was another one. But be that as it may, they blamed him for shooting women and children and innocent people. Mm. So they were going to kidnap him.
And what was his role then?
He was his role was equal to the commanding general of the Venezuelan Air Force. Okay. And he was head of the mission down there. Hmm. And so he had to be surrounded with guards. Wow. I thought it was very exciting. I didn't want him to be kidnapped because I knew what would happen, but it was excitement, and it was glamorous. And then they wanted to kill him. And when that word came out, we thought, where are the boys? 3 teenage boys in Venezuela where everything is there for the asking. And they offered him the right to come home with his family. And he said no. He said that was his job and he would do it. And I didn't want to come home. Mm-hmm. And I felt like Mrs. Spy. And it was very good. It was very fascinating. The boys liked it. They learned another language. And I just loved Venezuela. It was just so beautiful. And when we were there, the people were beautiful. They liked us then.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be there now.
Right, tough place.
Yeah.
Were there, how long were you?
4 years.
4 years.
4 beautiful years.
And what about some of the other places?
Japan.
What did you think about Japan?
I loved it.
Did you really? Yeah.
I thought that was the place until I got to Venezuela. Japan, the people, it was so soon after the war. A lot of them were yelling, Yankee, go home. And I remember one day I was going to the store by myself. I hadn't done this before. And I was walking up the steps so I wouldn't be confined in an elevator. And there were about 5 or 6 college students there. They had uniforms. And I'm walking up these steps and I thought, well, is it going to be easier to fall backwards or to take the elevator? Well, I walked up the steps and they were raising themselves up as I got up there. And they were saying, Yankee, go home, Yankee, go home. And I got to the top of the steps and it was noontime. So all I could think of to do was just turn around and say, Konnichiwa, good afternoon. Well, that shocked them.
Huh.
And I got along fine over there. I did. I was nice to them and they were nice to me.
It was a comfortable place for you, except for that little bit of...
That one time
Yeah.
scared me, yeah.
Huh.
It was very comfortable. And we lived out in the rice fields, literally in the rice fields for the first 6 months. And then our oldest boy got sick and we had to move on base. And, but it was just a beautiful country. And the people, when we lived off base, the neighbors came around bringing me things to eat that I'd never heard of before, just to be kind. And you know, I guess people are like this all over the world. If you're nice to them, they're nice to you. Sometimes.
Most
Yeah,
of the time.
that's right.
You said you met Rich when you were in school. Where did you go to
I went
university?
to Edgewood Park in near Austin, New York, White Plains, New York, in Westchester County.
Okay.
And I was just a little old Southern girl, and everyone wanted to hear me talk. And I made some wonderful friends there. And we started dating. We had a blind date, which was something I never wanted. And he didn't either. Here we are 62 years later, almost 63. Well, here I am. And it changed my whole life. It really did. He changed my life. He changed a lot of people's lives. It's good to his kids.
Yeah. The kids came. Where were you when the kids were born? Were you in?
Thank goodness we were married.
You were married.
Yes.
Good for you. But were you in the States or were you?
No. Laura was born in Oklahoma, Vance Air Force Base. And then Johnny came next in the Philippines, in a Quonset hut.
Huh.
And then Frank came along in another Quonset hut. And then we came back to the States and were stationed at Orlando Air Force Base. And Steve was born. And they decided I shouldn't have that many children that young. So they took care of that. But, you know, I remember those children as being so cute. And people used to look at us and say, you're good Catholics. And we said, no, Mother News never told me what not to do. And all of our bases were good. The Philippines was not my favorite. We had 2 tours there, and I remember that from the 10 years prior. Nothing changed. They were still sitting on the edge of the curb, and just nothing changed. And of course, you are all are familiar with the volcanoes in the Philippines. And Clark Air Force Base, where we were stationed, was right in the middle. Mount Orion was over here, and Mount Pinatubo was over here. and they wiped away that base.
Really?
Well, what wasn't destroyed, they stole.
Oh.
But the Filipinos were nice people.
But
So,
that just wasn't your favorite
okay.
of your places.
Yeah, my favorite, Venezuela.
Venezuela. You said something earlier about the experience being real good for your children. What do you think that
It was
they
and
got?
it wasn't. Drugs in Venezuela flowed freely. You could walk in any farmacia and they could get what they wanted.
Yeah.
They didn't need a note or anything. And unfortunately, it affected one of my children. And but he's doing fine. They're all doing fine. And they learned to speak Spanish overnight. I was amazed. I was impressed. I had to go to school to learn to speak Spanish. But it's a beautiful language, and it just, everything down there was so serene, and the people were so wonderful to us, and they appreciated my learning Spanish. And you know, you get to a country, and if you show appreciation for that country, they're going to appreciate you. And you've heard of the movie The Ugly American?
I don't remember.
You're too young to. Oh gosh. Well, I'm too young to be this old, but I was in it. And I was in another movie in Japan, My Geisha.
My Geisha.
They just needed some American people, and they paid us, and it was fun.
Did you learn Japanese some, or your kids some too?
Yeah, we did. In fact, one night when we were out in the rice paddies when we lived there, I woke. Rich was lying, I guess, because I knew I was home alone with the kids, and I heard all this Japanese talk going on, and it was the two little boys speaking to each other in their dreams. I got brave and walked in that room, and it just going away in beautiful Japanese. We had put them in a nursery school down the road. These people had never been around Americans. They just knew to hate Americans. But one day, Frank wouldn't be quiet in class, and they tied him to the chair and let everyone else go outside for playtime. Well, Steve didn't like that. I mean, they didn't hurt him. So Steve sneaked back in the room and untied him, and they started running down the lane home. As it happened, I was baking cookies, and they all got cookies. Every day they came running down the lane to see if I was baking cookies, and it was good. And we got along great there. Yeah. I just love the people, and it's a beautiful country. Climb Mount Fuji.
You climbed Mount Fuji. Not a lot of people can say that.
We went up all the way up and all the way down.
Wow. Well, now, when did you end up back
in the States?
In Chelsea. When did you?
He retired in 76, I think.
76.
74 or 76. And he had flown over this when we were stationed in Montgomery, and he thought the landscape and all was so beautiful. And he said this is where he wanted to retire. Well, this is country. I knew nothing about the country. And the day the realtor brought us out here, this was just a salt box. And no neighbors, per se. And I thought there's no way I would ever live here. So here I am all these years later. I can't imagine living anywhere else.
This is home.
This is home. Yeah. You know, sometimes when things get bad for you when you're away, you become frightened or your faith slips. You think, I want to go home. And that happened to me a lot. And especially if there were a gun pointed at me. And I had those incidences too. But when we moved out here and put up that barn, and he got me a donkey, and the people out here in Chelsea accepted us right away. I was home. I was really home. And when you came out here, it just
got you got you a church to belong to.
That's
too.
right. That's right.
Rich taught school, math. Is that right?
Yes, head of the math
Head of
department.
the math department at the high school.
He's a smart man.
Yes, he was definitely a smart man.
A smart, loyal, full of integrity. He was
Very
truly my hero.
Gracious, very gracious fellow. I guess you knew that, but he helped us when we first came out here and were looking for a place to start the Episcopal Church here. He found us place at the middle school to get started.
Yeah.
With Laura. So, in a sense, kind of
We've been together ever since.
Ever since, that's right. Yeah. What is your favorite thing, I guess, about this area? What is it that you love about Chelsea and the people here?
The people here let you be your own self, and everyone around here is willing to help you if you need help. You know, that seems to be a lost art, where you help your neighbors.
Right.
But when we first moved out here, there were only 600 people. Quite a few more now.
Yeah, a little bit.
And
you guys were involved in the formation of Chelsea. Right?
Rich was one of the founding fathers.
Yeah.
I was always proud of that.
Yeah.
I often wondered how you built a town. Well, it wasn't here that I saw it. It was on Highway 280 going into town where there was nothing. And all of a sudden, there was electricity. And it was fascinating to see how you built a town.
I bet.
Yeah. But this area has just given me more peace. I'm all right with God. I'm all right with my family. I'm all right with you. And have wonderful friends out here.
You have a lot of friends here.
And since my health has turned a little bit bad, I realize what a support group I have. And that counts.
Means an awful lot.
It does.
The experiences that you had abroad and in various parts of the country here and then here, can you think of some kind of highlights?
Yeah, Rich had to give a speech, a lecture in England. And he did that a couple of times, but this one time he took me with him. And we stayed in a nice little hotel out in the boondocks, but it has a big conference center. And at breakfast that morning, he said, "What do you want to do today?" He said, "I have to be tied up." So the waiter heard him and said, "Oh, Mom, you can go into the city." And I thought, alone? Me alone in London? And I did. And he put me in a cab, and the cab driver said, "Now, I'm letting you off where this platform is." There was nothing there but that platform. I mean, nothing. Just platform. This is where the train would stop. And you're either here to get on or get off. And if you're not here when it passes through, you'd be stuck here all night. I will be here at 6 o'clock this evening to get you. Don't be late. And that was a high point. But I roamed around London by myself, felt very safe. That was a different experience for me.
Yeah.
And I went to Hong Kong, which was fun.
Was that you didn't live there? That was a
No,
trip.
I didn't live there. These just visited.
Yeah.
And I went to Bangkok. When Rich was in Vietnam, he sent for me. And we had 2 weeks together there, R&R. And because this is a long time ago now. It's not modern like it is now. But it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. And I remember once we went into this one naturally store, and there was a huge tent inside of the store. That was the dressing room. And everyone was dressed in Thai costumes. It was just beautiful. we were very lucky at the people we knew because the head of the hospital where I'd been volunteering um, knew the commanding general of the hospital in Thailand. So he wrote him and said, my husband and I were coming over. Well, I was going to visit. Could they plan a little dinner party for me? Well, this was the most elaborate thing I've ever seen. I mean, those women are beautiful. And you know, their hand coordinations and everything. And this went on for 2 or 3 hours. And I thought, this is all for us. How nice. And every country we went to, there was something fascinating. I like the Air Force life.
You have a lot of good friends. You made a lot of good friends in the military over the years.
Oh, yes.
That you still are friends with, correspond with.
Well, of course, at our age now, even though I'm too young to be this old, they're dying.
Right.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
And but we've had some wonderful friends, and it's taught me a lot about friendship. Friendship is not always what it seems, and that's sad. But I have no complaints. I have Rich showed me the kind of life I could only dream about. I really love that man. He was just everything to me.
You that was obvious. That you guys were life mates and had.
We made a good team.
Yeah. And it was horribly traumatic for this family when Rich died, and for the community. It was. He was a fascinating fellow. I told you when I first moved down here and came out here to see you guys one time, and nobody was home, but then somebody spoke to me, and he was, you and Laura had gone to the grocery store, and so while you were gone, he took that opportunity to climb up on the roof and clean out the gutters. He didn't fall off that time, but I was afraid he was going to.
He did fall off one time on top of a glass top table. And if he had gone that much further, he would have been over the balcony outside. Rich had a lot of luck going for him. You know, to fight in those wars,
Right.
to fight with me, to fight with 3 boys. He was just lucky. And he used to tell me sometimes that when he was in Vietnam especially, you had to go someplace when the bombs were coming in. And he found out that he could just get under his bed and feel as safe as, you know, a military cot.
Right.
That's a lot of protection.
Not
And I just think God looked over him. I really do. And he loved the military.
Yeah.
And he was a good cadet. And he truly, it sounds corny, was my hero.
Yeah. He was, it was very obvious to anybody that looked, I think, that your kids just thought the world of him too.
They did.
He was their hero too, I think, it seems like.
You know, when he started teaching, he used to go around to each student in different classes. And he'd say to the girls and to the boys, would you like a kiss? Well, the boys shied away from that. And then they found out they were chocolate kisses. And he got along with his students. And Rich was not a tall man or a big man. And, but he broke up some of the football teams a few times. So we always felt safe with him.
He was a giant of a man. That's there's no doubt. And I imagine that it was it took people like that to form and get consensus and have the kind of authority to be able to bring people together enough to have to build a city.
Right, and they had some good ones.
Yeah.
And there were some bad ones. And everyone recognized that Rich was honest
Mhm.
And he was good. He was just good, and he loved his job. He loved what he did in life. And
He was a councilman
yeah,
for
11 years.
11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
1 year shy of his tour, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
And he quit teaching at 11 years. That seemed just to be the cutoff time for him.
Hmm.
But he was in the military, the Air Force, for 33 years.
33. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I can't say enough good things about him. We had maybe 1 or 2 spats during those years, but I just can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah.
The children were proud of him. The children always felt that we found out that we had all of the money in the world. And, we traveled, and we took them around.
Yeah.
And they just thought they could come to us and get anything they wanted. Well, they couldn't. We didn't raise them that way. But we took them around Venezuela. Now, Steve, my youngest, wanted to go to Colombia, the country, and get me a tripod with one of the hand-molded pots on the back. So he could carry that around on his back to bring home to me. And Frank thoroughly enjoyed Venezuela. He liked the senoritas. And unfortunately, John had a little problem down there with his health. And but he's doing great now. I'm proud of all of them. And Laura is just, she's dragged me along through my life. She has. And she works hard. And she's getting ready to have a 3rd grandchild. And I'm very proud of her. And I let her boss me around because she thinks she's my mother now. So.
She's a fine lady. Your kids are great. And they, we were fortunate at St. Catherine's to have you and Rich and Laura and her husband Tom as members as we try to build this church.
See, we're home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a wonderful feeling.
All right. Well, Terry, I think our time is about up here.
I've
but
enjoyed this.
It's been always wonderful to be with you. And as always, let's end this with a prayer.
Okay.
The Lord be with you.
And I'm with you.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the life of this wonderful woman and her family. We pray your blessings on her. We ask that you make your presence known to her and comfort her. Give her your peace. In Christ's name we pray.